there I was the next morning with him in front of the Maryland State Penitentiary. He was a counselor, and he wanted me to come and speak to 20 of the prisoners. Now, I had never been inside a prison voluntarily or involuntarily, and I kind of liked it that way. But the gate opened, slid, big, chain link kind of fence, slid open, that was fine. Inside that, and it closed, that was all right. Next thing, inside a little room, and that was still okay because there were some civilians in there and guards and different people. Then inside an even smaller room where they asked me to stick my hand through a little hole in the glass, and they put one of those stamps on it. You know, the kind of stamp that you can't see unless you hold it under the special light? I promise you, I did not wash my hands the whole time I was inside that prison. I was leaving when it was time to go. Out of that room into a courtyard, across the courtyard into a cell block, and through a doorway into a small room in which 20 men were waiting for me, looking suspicious, disinterested, all the things you might expect. And the first thing I did when I looked at these 20 guys was say, how many of you are responsible for being here today? Anybody surprised to learn that no one raised their hands? We talked for quite a while, had a good visit. I really enjoyed our visit. And in fact, there were several of those guys in that room that I had begun to like. They had made some bad choices, and they were living with the consequences of their bad choices, but they didn't really seem to be truly bad people. And finally it was time to go. The talk was over, and time was up, and I stopped, and I spoke to each one of these 20 guys, stopping, shaking hands with each one of them, asking them a few questions. What are you going to do when you get out? What's going to be different in your life? Tell me about your family. And then finally, having said something to the 20th guy, the guard opened the door to this little room, and the door was almost closed behind me. When I stopped the guard, I said, wait a second, hold it just for a second. I just want to go back in. I want to ask these guys one more question. And I turned to the 20 men, and I said, how many of you are responsible for being here today? 4 men raised their hands. Perhaps I had made a difference that day. So I asked the question of all of us. Woody Allen uses the great line, 80% of success is showing up, right? How many of us are going to choose to use the power that we have together to be responsible? I don't mean just for KC. It's a wonderful company and a blend of a lot of good companies. Ballard and all of you have come together to help make it even stronger and better. But I say to groups, and I'll say it to your group particularly, as hard as all of you work, don't give the best hour of your day to KC. Save it. Guard it jealously. Take it home. Share it with someone you love. There's a family member, there's a child, there's a parent, spouse, who perhaps isn't getting the best hour of your day anymore because you're working so hard to create the kind of success and help so many other people in your lives. But when you find yourself in one of those prisons, in one of those cells, when you find yourself, as I sometimes do, holding on to the bars, yelling as loud as I can, let me out of here, let me out of here, how did I get in here, how did this happen to me? Let go for a minute. Step back. Calm yourself for a minute. Reach in your pocket. Perhaps what you're going to find is a key or a tool Maybe it's one you acquired, not in one of these meetings, not listening to me or David or Joanne, but maybe you got it from the person next to you who you never knew before you came to this meeting. Maybe it's a key that when you pull it out, you'll look at it and it'll have printed on it, "It's not what happens to you. It's what you do about it."